Welcome to another episode of Between My Therapist and I. My name is Rebecca, and we have Maribel here. We have a very special guest today. Obviously, we're not in our normal setting, but we have Dr. Sabrina Crouch over here, coming live from New York, right? And are you in New York right now?
I'm actually in North Carolina now.
Oh my God. I was about to say.
I'm visiting family.
Yeah.
I'm visiting family. So
okay. So we are sitting down with Dr. Sabrina Crouch. She is the author of Surrendering to Rainbows. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about her book, what she does for a living, and how that relates to mental health. So let's get started. We're really glad to have you here on the podcast. So a little bit of background, our psychologist, Vanessa Nank, knows you, right?
yes.
And where did you know,
Yes,
where did
that's
you
right.
meet each other?
We met at work in Yonkers for the
Oh,
school district when she was in New
okay.
York. Yes.
And do you still work over there? Tell us a little bit about what you do currently.
Yes, I do. School psychologist, working for Yonkers School District, and I've been there, I think this is year 24. I lost track. But yeah, so I do a variety of things. I sit on committee on special education. I evaluate children for CSE, deal with crises, all the typical school-related things.
Yeah, Vanessa and I really connected because I'm actually a former school teacher myself. I taught for 3 years at the high school level teaching music. So I think it's so great what you guys do. So you've been doing working as a school psychologist for that long, but you also wrote a
Yes.
book. How did that come to be?
Oh gosh, sometimes you just get inspired by the journey, and the book came out of my own issues with pain management and find my way through a chronic pain diagnosis and condition. And so the book was it just flowed from me, really. It just came to me that I needed to get out the word about chronic pain, and being a psychologist doesn't absolve me of any typical human things like dealing with my own stuff and trying to find a way, because all that book knowledge, I mean, I had my doctorate at 29, but all that was useless when I was diagnosed with a chronic pain condition. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I was falling apart. And the diagnosis, physically it affects you, but it also affects you mentally and spiritually. Like, it dampens your spirit when you're diagnosed with something that's chronic that the doctors say they can't cure. So I really went on my own journey to finding a different path to healing. I think sometimes we look for answers when we haven't been asked the right questions. And I don't know if you read the book, but I had a conversation with a holistic healer that I met in Egypt. And he's the one that opened my eyes to this whole new realm of healing in a different way. And it all started with the question, what are you holding on to that you need to let go of? And it was like, he kind of like dropped the mic, and I'm like, I don't know how to answer that. But I knew if I found the answer, that would be the path to relief, if I could find the answer to that question.
And what has that journey been like for you, and him like asking you that? And I know that kind of brought you into the journey of writing the book, but what a powerful, I think, just like a very simple question, I think, that we don't ask ourselves often.
So simple, because I was looking for the answers. It's a medical condition, so I was going to the doctor with the questions and looking for answers. And when you deal with pain management, that means really there's nothing that they can do but help you manage the pain. And I'm like, no, I was looking for a cure. Like, what do you mean I have to live with this for the rest of my life? So I was really looking in the wrong place. And I realized every time I went to the doctor, they would increase my medicine, but that wasn't solving the problem. Because the condition was starting to become me, like, when you feel uncomfortable in your own skin all the time because of the pain is chronic. And then it affects you mentally, and it increases your stress level. Your stress, where does the stress go? Right to the site of that injury. So it feels 10 times worse. So those are some things that I kind of discovered along the way, is that, okay, mentally, I have to put some distance between myself and the condition. instead of saying I have stenosis, like that's all of me, I could say like I was diagnosed with stenosis, because that's really just a small part
Mhm.
of who I am.
I felt so connected to you right away. And reading what you've written, because I've known I've had fibromyalgia since I was 15, but they don't diagnose people with
Wow.
fibromyalgia before you're an adult. So I finally got diagnosed at 23, I believe. And it was the same thing you said. It was every time I went to the doctor, they just wanted to up my meds. And finally, I just had enough, because I remember waiting in a waiting room for a rheumatologist for an hour and a half. And I got into the waiting room, and the first thing that he said was, "So we need to up your meds." He didn't
Wow.
say, "How are you?" He didn't say, "How have you
Mm.
been?" I have not seen him. I had not seen him in 4 months. He did not ask me a single thing about myself. He just said, "Oh, so we need to up your meds." And I was like, "I've been waiting in your office for an hour and
Wow.
a half, and you have not asked me anything." And so
Mhm.
I left the office, and I was like, "Screw it. I'm getting off of all of these like bad things for me." And I found another rheumatologist who gave me some other things. And every time I go to the doctor now, I'm like, "No pain medication. No."
Mm.
And it's hard. Like, it is, especially because, like, I mean, I got diagnosed at 23, and I had known I had fibromyalgia. But when you're given that piece of information that's like, this is you forever, like, I don't think that people understand how much of a weight that can be on a human. Because, like, when you're 23 forever, that's a long time.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
and so it's like, wait, what do
Exactly.
you mean? Like, I have all these
Mhm.
other things to do. Like, I
Like this
can't,
can't be it,
yeah. So
like this can't be it.
yeah, you just gave me a life sentence. I don't understand that. So when I was reading
Mhm.
what you were writing, I was just like, it was just so powerful, because it was like, you're exactly right. You know, speaking of it as a separate thing from yourself. And I think I wanted to thank you, because I think it's actually helped me, because it is still like, I'm still in that journey of like separating myself from that, because it is hard, like dealing with that every day, like knowing that there's going to be pain, and what do you do with that, and how do you manage that without falling into like old patterns, and realizing that it really is such a mental thing, and that you have to this is like the most important pain management source, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, the journey continues for myself as well. I've weaned off all the medication, but don't think there's times I think like, dag, if I could just take the pill, would that help? Or do I just need to go meditate or figure out what's really going on? It stress that's making me feel a little agitated and feeling the pain come back, or, sometimes I play with it. I'm like, not now, I'm busy, like talking to the pain, not now, I'm busy. Um, and I have fun with it, or I distract myself, or, sometimes I just need to settle my body down, and meditate, just to take the edge off.
Yeah. And just that concept of, before Rebecca spoke, just that concept of separating yourself, from that diagnosis. Like I am, diagnosed with, in the mental health world, at least for me as a clinician, sometimes people take on those, and that's why I'm so weary sometimes of like giving those diagnoses
Mhm.
to the clients, because they take that on as an identity for themselves.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I'm very careful with that kind of stuff, because then it turns into they're starting to, and I think some of the things I was reading with about your book is sort of like they put that limitation, almost like you're already setting that limit for yourself in your head, because you're already saying like, well, I have this condition, and so this is limiting me from, kind of being my best self, or, the better version of myself. So I think that for me, that really, from the mental health aspect, it like really resonated with me, of how do you separate those two? Because I feel like a lot of our clients, at least the clients we work with, they often do that. So it's being very
And it's
careful
so
with
easy.
that.
Like sometimes you seek out a diagnosis, but then it's like, what benefit is it going to be to you? Like, how are you going to use that? Are you going to use it to fall into despair, or are you going to use it to say, you know what, I'm more than this? And that's the challenge. That really is the challenge. And it all starts with just being aware, because I wasn't totally aware, like, okay, yeah, I have some stuff I'm holding on to that I need to let go of. I read a book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I thought, oh yeah, that's what Allah is talking about. I need to break the habit of being me. Like, got some stuff going on I need to work on. And then I was willing to do the work, and, learn how to settle my mind and my body down to meditate. And that's what changed my life.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. I think one of the things that hit me so hard was you talk about getting away from normalcy. And I love that concept, because I think that all of us, like my persistent like thought, and I think people talk about this a lot in like EMDR and stuff like that, is I just want to be normal. And it goes in my brain, and I just want to be normal. I just want to be normal, because I don't want this to be my everyday life a lot of the time. And that's like the first thought that comes to my head a lot of the times. But I love that you're like, no, like we need to strive away from even the word normal and the concept.
Yeah, like who came up with that word?
Right.
Exactly.
Just like perfect, like perfection. Who came up with those words? Like, who needs that? Like, that's a burden.
Right. And I love that concept of just striving away from that and just figuring out like exactly who you are, and striving away from all of those other stupid concepts that we have in our society. Because I think that is a comfort. It is a comfort to just be like, what is normal? Everybody has their things and stuff like that. This is just my thing. This is just a thing that I have, like a purse, like.
Exactly. It's like we can redefine what normal is, because we're changing beings. We're not the same people that we were 5 years ago, or even 5 minutes ago for that matter. So we have to kind of embrace where we are as changing beings. And I think it was Albert Einstein that said, you can't approach a problem from the same level of mind that created it. So we have to learn how to expand in so many different ways, because as our bodies are changing physically, we can mentally, our thought patterns, because like I would have never considered anything Eastern medicine or alternative, because my go-to was always Western medicine and my doctor. So I had to increase, widen my scope of possibilities, about other things that could help.
Yeah. And even again, kind of going back to my work with my clients, it's always that question of that stood out to me, that, what is normal? Because for my clients, they'll ask me like, well, is this normal? And for me, I hate that word. And I think a lot of them will, when they say it in session, they'll catch themselves and they'll say like, oh yeah, that's not a word we use. And I'm like, yeah, because what does normal look like to you? Because what normal looks like to me, it could be different. So we have different definitions of what that is. So I think for me, I try to always kind of stray away from that language, because it's sort of like, what is normal? I don't know. Like some dude sat down and wrote down like, what is, normal? Like for me. So I think for me, that concept of it is really, something that I try to kind of bring up with my clients, is like, well, what does that look like for you? and trying to, figure out ways to kind of support them in that journey of what that idea or concept, redefining it for them as an individual. And I think that that empowers them. And that is a super powerful thing that I try to do in my therapy with my clients. So definitely that concept really stood out to me, because I'm like, yeah, I hate that word. When they ask me that, they always have a funny reaction because they're like, but you're the professional, so you should know what is normal. And I'm like, but that doesn't mean that is maybe what is normal for you. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I put a quote in the book, like, don't be limited by other people's limited imaginations, because we all have our scope of what's comfortable, and normal, and there's room to expand,
Exactly.
So I wouldn't want to put all my ideas on someone because I don't know everything. Like, I'm on a journey, just they are.
Yeah, and I love that. I love, just looking at like your website and looking at like everything you've done. Like you've been a school psychologist for like, the 24 years, but then you wrote a book and and it's on, it's not on school psychology. It's on, pain management and mental health. And it's just like, the limit is endless for everyone. And I think that from everything from like mental health to physical health to careers and to everything, I think we all put a limit on ourselves. And I think that I wanted to ask you, like, do you think that pushing the scope, like your limits, with your pain management, has that helped you in your life as well? Like pushing the scope of what you can do as a person, like expanding your horizons with everything else.
Yes, absolutely. So before the pandemic, I was in Peru, sitting at the top of Rainbow Mountain. So, there are no accidents. I was supposed to go on a trip with my girlfriend. We're at the airport. She can't board the flight because her passport's going to expire within 4 months, and she needed 6 months on the passport. So now I'm going to Peru alone, and she wanted to do this hike up this mountain. And I kept saying to the driver, sure I can't see the rainbow from the car? And he was like, no, ma'am, you have to hike. And I'm like, what kind of is this? This won't take us too long. Well, that hike transformed me because in Peru, we're at a high altitude. So we're at 15,000 feet. I hiked to 16,800 feet. I'm not a hiker. Let's just put that out there. Nor was I prepared for 2 hours and 40 minutes of a hike. So when I got to the top of that mountain, I realized, like, if I could manage my body and my mind under these conditions, then I could do it in my everyday life. Like, that's the moment I knew, like, oh no, I got this pain. I got you. I know what to do for you. So that moment, I just felt like a sense of freedom, Yeah, my body still has stenosis, but I knew at that point that it didn't have control over my mind or my spirit. And that to me was just so freeing. Now I want other people to feel that same sense of freedom. So that's why I created the course. And I was doing a private practice part-time. I phased all of that out and stopped doing those evaluations. And then it's so funny, 2 weeks ago, the building where my office is, it burned down. Like it totally, like all my test supplies, everything gone. And I said, now you told yourself you weren't going back to that life. So here's the universe, like exclamation point, there's no going back to that. Wow. So now moving forward, I'm really just focusing on the book and, helping women heal and get unstuck from their pain conditions. And like it's opened up this whole new world for me. Like I don't see myself as a public speaker, but now anything's possible, right? Yeah. So I see myself on stages talking about the book, working with women, and I'm excited. I'm excited because I feel like if you help a woman heal, you heal her family, you heal her community, because we're the backbone of everything. Just don't tell the men. We run everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We
I
would agree here at the traveling therapist.
Yes, most definitely. Woman owned, woman led over here.
Yes.
I love it.
So you talked a lot about how you had to go to Eastern medicine to get a lot of your answers. Do you think that there's a good balance between the two? Like, do you still hold a healthy balance between the two, or are you seeing that like maybe that is just the way to go now?
I think it's important to have a balance. I mean, if you have something acute, like in December, I fractured my wrist, so I went to the doctor because I'm like, okay, I needed a cast. But for
Yeah.
something that's chronic, where, if it's really something that they don't know what to do other than meds, then why not try something else?
Mhm.
I did try acupuncture. I tried a variety of different things. I tried EFT, tapping. I tried different things along the way. But it ended up being learning how to meditate ended up being, the key for me.
And you talked about your course. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so I created a course. It's called Ready. It's called Fuck Being Stuck. Black
Yes,
Women's
we were just
Mastering
talking
Chronic
about
Pain.
it.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it, but yes, please go on.
I love the name.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I thought that would catch people's attention.
Yes.
But I think it's important, sometimes you just have to make a decision with such firm intention, like, like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get unstuck, like fuck this. I'm tired of dealing with this pain and this condition in this way. Let me try something else.
Mhm.
So I want women to know that there's possibility,
Yeah.
and just learning a lot of the things that I learned. Like I have a section I call Rhythm Without the Blues, where you learn how to find your heart rhythm. And, we do it through music and, different things to shift our mood.
I love that.
Because I think that's important.
That is great. Yeah, that is important. Yeah, because I think it's a good thing, like you said, to have the balance between the two things, of having sort of like, obviously, if you have like a broken leg, I mean, maybe go to the doctor, but also having for other things, having things that are different. Like I know that you mentioned a lot about like meditation, or just other tools that you're able to use to kind of help with some of those things, as far as like with your physical pain. That is also very much, I find with my clients who have physical pain, it's sort of like, it's very much connected to their mood and how they feel.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
they feel, it really is, if they're able to kind of manage or have like a good day as far as managing their physical pain, then overall their mood is, they're good. They're in a good place.
Yeah,
So they may have
exactly.
pain, but it's manageable and it's a better day than other days for them. So
Exactly. And I had a neuropathic doctor tell me that, knowing that their patients could manage in some way is very freeing for them as a doctor, like it takes the burden off them. And I never even thought about that.
yeah, exactly.
Speaking like onto that, I'm actually like, I'm pretty happy with like that I found that concept as well, because now I can kind of push that onto my doctors. Like I'm about to have shoulder surgery because along with the fibromyalgia, I have hypermobility. So my joints just like, bye, they just pop out. So
oh boy.
but I went to the shoulder doctor and they were like, okay, so we can put you on, we can do physical therapy, we can put you on medication. I was like, no pain meds. And I did a lot of research on this doctor, but I was really actually surprised to find they were like, oh, okay, we can just print you out a list of like herbs and like different patches and stuff that you can use instead. And I was like, this is fantastic.
Yes.
Now I don't have to like not have you as my doctor because you're pushing pain medication onto me. But it's always so funny to like when they ask you questions at like the ER or the doctor, I find that they don't actually take me that seriously, because they'll ask me, what's your pain level? And I'm like, I don't know how to answer that question, because a normal person just doesn't have pain. So they have a 0. And then when they have pain, they have, up to 10. And I'm like, well, every day I could like probably sit at like a 3 to a 5, but I'm okay. Like I'm okay as a person because my mind is okay. I'm relaxed. Like I feel okay. So if you're asking me what my pain level is right now, I don't really know what to tell you. Like I could say that my pain level is at like a 4, but I kind of feel like I'm lying, because like I feel perfectly fine. And they think I'm lying because they're like, you seem very jolly for like like a 4 or a 5.
So you're an atypical pain management patient like myself. I love it.
Yeah. They're like, and I had to tell like the arm doctor that I was like, I find it really hard to answer that question because like I'm in pain every day. So like pain doesn't really bother me. And that's not me being like a macho person or something like that. But like, I'm in pain, and that's something that I've accepted about my life. And I think once you accept it, it's a lot easier to manage. Like you start
Your
to
tolerance level changed too. Your tolerance level to pain, like what most people run to the doctor. Like I fractured my wrist. I didn't go to the doctor for almost 3 weeks. He goes, okay, oh, so you're the tough one. I said, no, I knew something was wrong with it, but I had things to do, so he was like, you should have been in the cast 3 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That happened to me. I fell down the stairs my first year of teaching. I fell down the stairs and I was like, that hurt. And then I just went through the day teaching. And then I got home and I was like, I feel like there's something wrong. Maybe I should go to the doctor. And so I went to the ER like after my work day, and I walked in and I was like, yeah. And they were like, you messed up your neck. Like you messed up your neck. And I was like, oh, my bad. Like I didn't even, this is just like normal day for me. Like I knew something was wrong, but like the pain level wasn't that different.
So Dr. Crouch, what are your future goals as far as speaking about this topic? I know that you mentioned that you have, I'm trying to think of the word now for that you used for, is it like conferences or is it like things
I'm going to be doing lots of things.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing workshops for women. Eventually I'm going to be doing retreats. I'm writing a second book.
Oh my goodness.
So all this came up a few days ago. Like it just came clear where I needed to go, what direction I needed to take. So yeah.
Great. That's super exciting. Well, we look forward to the next book.
Exactly. And I'll definitely be talking to you about it.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing about the first came out during COVID, and I self-published. So I just started getting out, talking to women about the book recently, like in-person events. So I'm looking forward to doing more of those, and any opportunities I have to speak about it, I'm going to take advantage of them.
Yeah. That's
definitely
wonderful.
Are you going to be staying in New York for all of that? Or are you going to be traveling around?
I'm hoping to travel around. That would be nice. As long as COVID stays at bay, hopefully I can get out and do some more in-person events.
Yeah, that'll be a nice shift for I think all of us, because I think I was just having a conversation this morning, and it's like everybody's like, I haven't traveled in 2 years. So it's like, it's so weird of like the idea of like getting on a plane and going somewhere.
I know. I just flew last week for the first time in 2 years. I was like a fish out of water. I'm in the airport. Like, what do? I go to the kiosk. I get my boarding pass, and then I'm looking at my suitcase. Like, there's something else I need to do. The lady's like, you need a bag tag. I said, oh yeah, that's right. Like totally like out of the routine. Of everything.
Well, that's very exciting. Okay, so why don't you tell us where the audience can find all of your stuff? We're going to put it in the YouTube links and stuff like that, but talk to us
Okay.
about where we can find all of your things.
Okay, so I'm on Facebook, Dr. Sabrina Nicole. It's Nichole. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Sabrina Nicole as well. And my website, drsabrinanichole.com. And there you can find the link for the masterclass that's going to be coming up soon. Being Stuck, A Black Woman's Guide to Mastering Chronic Pain.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
The name
then-
definitely got me.
Yes. And then obviously
It just came to me.
Obviously, we will put a link to your book, Surrendering to Rainbows, on
Yes,
our
it's on
YouTube
Amazon.
thing. Yes, it's on Amazon. That's where I got mine. And I know that's where Maribel got hers. There it is. I got the Kindle version, so you can do both ways. And we will post all the links to that. But it's been really such a pleasure talking to you. And I hope that we can talk to you again, either right before your masterclass or after your masterclass, and hopefully we can join you for that as well.
I'd be so excited to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and thank you
Yes.
for, just kind of sharing your journey and all of the things you shared with us today. So we appreciate it.
Yes, thank you
Right.
so much.
All right,
And
take care.
you too. And that has been our episode of Between My Therapist and I. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm Maribel.
And we are with Dr. Sabrina Nicole Crouch. And we will see you next time. Bye.